Right. So, bit of post-production. Or production. But essentially the start premise of the game had three main sections, right? And it was all originally going to be puzzles, but because I don't have a third level, I only have two. I decided to take some of the third level was supposed to be like a mix, right? A mix of puzzle elements and movement mechanics, right? Platforming. So since I didn't have a third level, I thought I'd take this level from being purely puzzle oriented to having a bit of mechanics in it, right? So the first area I turned into an icicle dropping area, right? So this is just some dodging and proper timing that you have to push through to get across, or to also collect the emeralds if you wish. The second areas were these puzzle, right? The puzzle area, the second area of the level. So like that's the first area, this is the second area, and that's the third area, right? I hope you can see my cursor. Let me just double check that. Yeah, okay, you can see my cursor, that's fine. So when I made this second area, I had realized that the kind of walking from here to like all the way like over here, like considering especially how slow the player is, especially without a sprint mechanic, which is not meant to be for level 1, it was quite a while. So instead what I ended up doing was I added some obstacles, platforming obstacles in between to make it a bit more like fun and engaging, and like make it actually a challenge, like go and get the hints, right? Hints to the puzzle. You can also collect emeralds again along the way. Originally this level 2 area was supposed to be for a sort of crystal light puzzle, which was going to be in level 3, but I never ended up implementing it. Primarily because my use of raycasts weren't as prominent as they are now, especially after I learned how to make the enemy in the third area of the first level. So I didn't end up implementing crystals with lights and that kind of puzzle. What I ended up doing instead was I had this area in the second section all lead up to here, these glyphs, right? And what these glyphs do is that they rotate and glow when you're interacting with them. When the player comes up here and they interact with them, glow and rotate. You'll see a bit more of that in my gameplay video, which I'll have hopefully attached and properly rendered, uploaded in YouTube. But yeah, and those puzzle sequence essentially leads you to open this door, which leads you to an underground area underneath the lighthouse. And the reason you need to go here underneath the lighthouse is because you need to get rid of these boulders, right? Which has an invisible wall here. It's blocking your path into the maze, right? So once you look at the hints from the little runic hint section over here, which has a trigger box, and you collect information from the two areas, there's one last glyph that needs to be activated, right? Which is the third glyph. You get one hint from here, one hint from here, and then if you actually go back into the trigger box, it'll tell you, give you a little hint about it being behind the lighthouse itself, which a lot of players didn't get up until here. I actually did help with the waypoint system when my colleague Lee Moore was trying it out, I implemented that, so it wasn't completely finished, but it guided him enough to like understand what he had to do, and he actually solved it without me telling him anything about the third and last room, which I thought was going to be a bit difficult for people to find. But he found it and he solved the glyph puzzle, and that allowed him to what's it called? Well, he was gonna originally go underneath, but he couldn't get to the door. He actually had to collect this item first, the grappling hook, which he wouldn't have been able to get anyway because he needs it for this moving grapple point to get over there to like see the hints. But yeah, you'll need to get this grappling hook first and foremost, and even if you somehow manage to get the combo without going over there, I've coded it so that you can't enter without the acquiring the grappling hook. Once you do get it though, and you go underground, go to this underground section underneath the lighthouse, and this was originally meant to be one of the places where I hid a collectible for the hub, right? The central point of linking the two areas, or the two games levels. And I was gonna hide it like sort of behind this couch. I made it purposefully this like area weird, like the smoke billowing from above the modern furniture and what's supposed to be a like a Viking Nordic sort of icy isolated island. I made it purposely like this so that the player would be like, okay, that's kind of strange, and they would kind of like poke around, see like what's up with this, and eventually find it behind the couch here. But the collectible system along with the shop and hub never got fully implemented, so this doesn't really serve much of a purpose, just for aesthetics, I guess. But once you reach here, you have the grapple points, and originally, as I mentioned in one of my changes, this didn't actually used to have a moving platform here, or not moving platform, just a stationary platform, but a falling platform I think is a better word for it. But people who I showed it to found it hard, right? Especially like Lee, he was having a lot of trouble with this because there was a bug in the game in which like if the player would grapple from here to here and like not detach, like hit the ground first before going to the other grapple, it would shoot the player down. I fixed this, but it still like happens occasionally for some reason. Even without that bug, it's like hard to hit because it's like sort of a fishing hook grappling hook in level 1, not a direct grapple like the level 2 grappling hook. So it's hard to like throw it just midair and hit this. So I implemented a platform here which falls into this section. This was going to be another section that was going to be a collectible like hidden here, like if the player like dropped here, or right, they would find this collectible, take it, and they can just rush into the water, get reset back up, which was a nice place to add because like while you were like flying on the grapple points, like you wouldn't really notice the water until you like, got close enough, and then you're on the moving platform, and then if you don't time it correctly, you fall and you realize there's something down here, which was like a nice way to like obscuring it with the platform. But once you hit here, it's a one-way wall. You go through. There's a trigger box here, and it triggers a cutscene. Again, it's going to be more of this in my gameplay video. But once you do that, this lights up, plays a cutscene above showing the maze entrance is open. And then you can go to the door and you can interact and leave. Once you do that, you'll be back above on the lighthouse area. Alright, you'll be outside the door again. Yeah, here, somewhere here. And the maze will be open to you. This is also around the time the the maze runner will be active, right? So like if I go here, right now he's deactive. He's not set active in the scene, but once you like, once you go down and you activate that rune tablet, the stone rune tablet, once you get past the anglers, you activate it. And the reason I actually done this is because apparently nav meshes are really expensive to run and render, so they kill performance, which is not something I would want. So I just don't have him active until I need him, and then when he's active, I'll start roaming the maze. Now, let me just actually show you the particle system. There we go. He's sort of like a glitchy creature with like headlights, and these are his eyes. They glow yellow when he's patrolling, and when he sees the player, it turns red and he emits this horrible screech, which is pretty disorienting and scary to a lot of new players. Lee particularly. I think he was... Let me just turn off the mist real quick. There we go. I think he was turning a corner. Yeah, around here. Somewhere around here. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. It also enables the nav mesh surface. If I... Where is it? Oops. Maze Runner. I think it's one of the cubes. Yeah, I can't find it here, but essentially when you turn on the rune, it like overlays another plane, and that's like positioned slightly above it, above this one, and that's the nav mesh surface that the Maze Runner uses to traverse the place, and that's why you're seeing some holes, because it's like not enabled at the moment until like you enable the rune thing. It's here somewhere, but I can't remember what name I gave it. So, as I was saying, the enemy turned around here, and this was sort of when like Lee was roaming through this area. He was about here, he heard something, turned back around, this thing just started screeching, and it like hit the wall, so like it was like delayed a bit because it has an acceleration, and like there's also like force and momentum it hits with, so like it can hit on a wall, and it has to like reposition itself, and Lee just like he was really anxious when he just saw the red bright lights and he heard screeching, and like he saw something weird coming, like this glitchy mass coming from him, which was fun. It was exactly like the sort of response I wanted from the player, like to feel anxious inside the maze when you have the mist on and then you just see this thing coming for you. Originally the Maze Runner was like made of volumetric smoke, but it doesn't stack very well inside of itself, especially if it's dense. You can't actually see it really clearly, even with the headlights, the eyes, right? It was difficult to see the Maze Runner, so I made it a particle system with the help of my lecturer Johnny. So like he's now visible from like long areas, which actually gives you some counterplay because his detection range is pretty far, or something like 50 meters, and if you saw the waypoint system, that's quite far. Hold on. Yeah, the Maze Runner dummy. Patrol speed. Yeah, detection distance 50 meters. It's like nuts. I can see from pretty far away. But yeah, let me just undo everything here I've done. There we go. Yeah, but once you finish the maze portion, you finally get to an area near the exit, right? And yeah, the end game trigger box. It had a particle effect, but I think I just removed it and I placed these simple like lights here, just indicate that, because you could actually see the particles from like pretty far away, even when you're standing on top of the lighthouse, which I didn't really want, so I just implemented this instead. It's like also meant to be a safe point because the area in the middle of the maze, oh, that's a bit weird, that was some weird lighting effect. But yeah, the area in the middle of the maze, it also has these lights, and it symbolizes that this is a safe space. The nav mesh is not here in this area, so the maze runner can't reach you, right? So this is a safe space indicated by lights, so I thought it would be also good to like implement here as well, to show the exit. Right, in terms of the variation or iteration of the, I'll start off with the maze runner itself. I had, right now the way that the maze runner works is that it looks for it has two rings around it, right? One's the minimum range, one's the maximum range. It looks for a position on the nav mesh within the radius of that minimum to maximum range, and it finds, oh, it's played maximized, and it finds the player there, right? It looks for the player in that range. Originally what I had done was I just had a random, right, and I gave it a range, but it would keep going like small distances, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to like it to like hit some of the farther areas of the mazes, so it has to like pathfind and move around, which it didn't do originally, right? That was one of the things the maze runner didn't do, which it does now. So min-max distance and random point in that. Another thing I tried implementing was a way to detect the player's last seen location and then sort of make guesswork and how to follow it. The problem with that is that unless you know exactly where the player is and like you have a smart sort of system to feed information, I think Alien Isolation is a good example of this in the way like its mechanics work. It works kind of just like that. It has like one brain where it knows where the player is at all time, that the game, and it feeds this information to the enemy, the alien in this case, right? And then the alien follows these clues, right? And like if it doesn't find the player for a while, the machine, right, or the game starts to feed it more information to the alien, right? The alien, and then it gets closer and closer to the player eventually, until it eventually like finds him. That's the way it works in Isolation. I tried implementing something similar, to which if the enemy, like let's say, saw the player, started chasing them, and then the player turned the corner and like its chase timer was finished, it would sort of see where the player was going in which direction, and then like follow it, like make a raycast and then follow it to that area. And then the problem is after that I didn't really know what I would do, like how I would make it like know where the player is. I tried making like a certain radius around the player when it reaches that area. If the player is like still there but they're just hiding, it'll just follow them. But this ended up being really inefficient because the maze runner has, as I said, an acceleration and deceleration, right? It can like go too fast, turn, hit a corner, stop for a second, stumble, and then like continue going. So it made it really, what's the word I'm looking for here? Inconsistent. Whenever it would go, like sometimes you'd find the player almost immediately, and when I would increase the timer between like when it could detect the player in a radius, it would like hit a corner and the player would have a lot of time to like, because they were like just barely out of the reach of the radius, a lot of time to go. And if I made the radius bigger, then like the maze is too small and the player wouldn't have enough space to like space themselves from the maze runner. So that's what I'm trying to get at here. it was really hard to implement a system like that that was consistent and felt fair to the player, right? Let me just enable the, where's the maze runner? There we go. Yeah. So if I just enable the maze runner, you notice that's the, oh yeah, the nav mesh isn't turned on. That's what I was saying. That's why I can't find anything. Let me see if I can just quickly, I should be able to find the nav mesh really quickly. Should be linked to the runic tablet, which I have down here. It just has a playable director. Maybe it's on the floor? No. Canvas. Yeah, it's not here. It's somewhere there, but I just can't remember what I named it. It was like floor something. Something to do with the nav mesh. Let's see if I can find by nav mesh. Nope. Right. As for the iterations for but yeah, that's what I really want to say. The maze was like sort of the last area that I made, and it was the most important in my opinion. Compared to the rest of them, because of the enemy that I put in. I have never done a enemy character like this, right? An AI with a nav mesh on it, so I think I did pretty well for my first time working with this sort of system and implementing it. And I'll show a bit more in the gameplay section of the video, but I think that should be everything for the first level.